following is a presentation of TFNN. Time to talk about your health. Living a primal lifestyle.
You know, we have Tom from Tampa on the phone. Hey, Tom. Good morning. It's bright and early now, huh?
Hey, Paige. Good. How you guys doing, Nico?
Doing great.
Good. Hey, your newsletter's outstanding, man. I'm telling you, man, it is outstanding. And so is the Primal Wave. I love that stuff. I'd never be without it. I mean, I've been on it now 3-4 months, man. I mean, it's just, I can't get over how good I feel.
Primal Edge is, people are raving about it. People who are trying it, they know because you can feel it.
Would not be without it.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044. Now your hosts, Nico DeHaan and Paige Clark.
Living a primal lifestyle where we explore a return to a more balanced, natural, wild world. We do that to recover our natural health and regain our rights and freedoms. And it's a beautiful morning in downtown Clearwater. Oh, it's raining a little bit. But it's about 74 degrees, and it looks like we're going to have a little chill in the air, at least the chill for us here in Florida. I'd like to remind you, I have a brand new Health Signals newsletter that just came out. It starts with antibiotics found to weaken the body's ability to fight off diseases, the very thing that the medical community is telling us to take when we run into some problems is the very thing that also can inhibit our health. So take a look at that. I've got some nice, interesting articles in here, too. Some of the benefits of dry fasting, which Paige and I talked about a few weeks back. Another one here about the birth of farming causing jaw-dropping changes in the human skull. We talked about that last week. Some fake oil companies revealed, and I list them here, ones to look out for and what to look out for in olive oil that could help you. Are hunter and gatherers the happiest people to inherit the earth? There's a good article in here that says yeah. And you can see the smiling faces on some of these people. Electric universe area, we have cosmic solar radiation as the cause of earthquakes and volcano eruptions. And as we are entering into this grand solar minimum, we do see more earthquakes, we do see more storms and volcanoes, and this explains how they're tied together. Really important to know what's going on and why our food has 40% more vitamins and minerals in 1950 than it did today. We have a study about the plastic fibers found in the tap water around the world. We discussed that. We're coming into fall here, so soups are big on my list, and hearty asparagus soup with crispy bacon recipe is one of my very favorites, so check that out. And we have some exercises here, a 4-week paleo fitness and primal play program for your enjoyment. So please pick up the Health Signals newsletter. Also, please pick up our Primal Edge. Of course, it's 310 cell-ready liquid ingredients. It means it's easy to take. It's all powered by fulvic and humic acid. Please pick that up. It's $89. Brings it to your door. And, of course, the newsletter is $10 a month, and you get 2 issues on the first and third Tuesday of every month. How's everybody doing today? Wanted to start off with a interesting article about running shoes and how running shoes changed the way we run. Modern day running shoes have changed the way people run, altering their gait from that of barefoot running, the manner by which people for thousands of years before the arrival of cushioned shoes. And this is a new study. This study shows that barefoot runners tend to hit the ground with the toe first, a style that minimizes the forces that jar the body, while people used to use running shoes have really adopted what they call the heel first strike. And this was brought about by Nike, actually. It was one of the first running shoes that raised the heel of the running shoe. And this forces you into a gait. And what Nike's thinking was, well, the way we walk these days is the heel strike first. So that must mean that we also should be running this way. So this is how we changed completely. Of course, I was a runner for 30 years. And so this really impacted me because when I started talking about or starting running, I started, and for 30 years I ran the same way, the heel strike. I bought different kinds of shoes. Slowly but surely, probably about maybe 10 years in, I started having some knee problems. I tried various different things like orthotics, tried to change my running style a little bit. It helped a little bit. All those things kind of helped. Of course, different therapies that I used, different stretching techniques I used helped also. But eventually, I guess I was about 60 years old, and I decided, well, this long distance running is really punishing me, and my knees are getting worse, and my back doesn't feel too good. And I started really reading at that time, and this was about 13 years ago. I started reading up on the evolution of the running shoe, and that kind of led me to this type of thing where I realized that barefoot running was a lot better. So I did switch. One thing that happened was that my knee pain went away, but what did start was my Achilles tendon started really tightening up a lot. So I just, instead of running the 4 and 5 miles that I was doing, I started back about 1 mile and did that for a few months. Then I got up to 2 miles, and things seemed to be good. But my whole philosophy at that time changed. I started doing more burst type exercise, which is evolutionary, more tied to the way human beings act, because we were either chasing something or being chased by us. But it usually wasn't a long, enduring thing. Now, one thing that human beings were very good at was long distance running way back when. And this is how the early humans really subdued most of their prey. They just outran them. The deers and antelope and things like that, they can run for short distances very quickly, but they're not very good at running long distances over 100, over 10 miles, let's say. So human beings were actually able to track these animals down, and that may be one of the first things that we did instead of using spears and bow and arrows and things like that. So when we run, every step you take forces the body, puts forces on the body caused by the impact of your foot colliding with the ground. If you land with the heel first, or so-called rear foot strike, the impact is quite large. Actually, it's several times your weight and occurs in a very short time. It's Daniel Lieberman, who was the head of this study. He says it's like hitting your heel with a hammer 2 or 3 times your body weight, like a big sledgehammer. That would not be good. But since we haven't had this heel protection, he says him and his colleagues wanted to find out how humans were able to hold up against the forces when they ran barefoot. They examined the running styles of 5 different groups: athletes from the United States who usually wore running shoes, athletes from the Rift Valley province in Kenya who grew up running barefoot but now don running shoes, and U.S. Runners who wear shoes but now go barefoot, and also runners from Kenya who always never wore any of those shoes, or some of them did. So they saw the runners who used to run in shoes most often strike the ground heel first, even when running barefoot. Those individuals who grew up running barefoot or switched to running barefoot usually land with their toe first, called the 4-foot strike. Barefoot runners included those growing up running who recently switched to barefoot, sometimes landed mid-foot as well, instead of on the heel. And I kind of did that in the beginning too, and now I'm kind of on my toes. It's an interesting article, and a lot of people now are doing barefoot running, and this is one of the reasons why. So you educate yourself and you decide what you want to do. I think either way is good for me. Folks, please pick up my Health Signals newsletter, pick up the Primal Edge, and I will be right back. You know what's cool? Taking something that's good for you. Something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, soil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated fulvic and humic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They have been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, formulated and approved by Nico and Paige of Living a Primal Lifestyle. Buy it today for just $89. Click on the Primal Edge banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Platinum, grains, crude oil, gold, copper, cattle, hogs, gasoline, natural gas, coffee, cotton, cocoa, and sugar. These are just some of the commodities mentioned in the most recent issue of Andy Hecht's Techno-Mental Commodity Report. Andy publishes his weekly newsletter every Thursday morning, where he breaks down the commodity market and provides his subscribers with specific trading recommendations based on his trading methodology. By signing up for a free trial to the Techno-Mental Commodity Report, you'll get a full 30 days to try out this powerful newsletter service and see for yourself the types of trades Andy has recommended for his subscribers. When you sign up for a 30-day free trial, you're under no obligation to pay anything. And should you decide to continue, you will lock in the low rate of only $79 a month. Sign up right now for the Techno-Mental Commodity Report and make sure you're ready to catch the next big trade in commodities. For more information and to get started today, visit the front page of TFNN.com.
Will the S&P 500 continue to climb? For bold trades on U.S. large-cap stocks in either direction, trade SPXL, SPUU, or SPXS. Directions Daily S&P 500 Bull and Bear Leveraged ETFs. Direction Leveraged ETFs. An investor should carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risks, charges, and expenses before investing. A fund's prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a fund's prospectus and summary prospectus, call 866-476-7523 or visit directioninvestments.com. A fund's prospectus and summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Nico and Paige take your phone calls now. Toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044.
Welcome back to the show, folks. Of course, Paige is not here. I guess you must have noticed that. She's up in the Carolinas with her kids, and they do this once a year pilgrimage to watch the leaves turn. So we wish her a lot of happiness up there with the kids, and I'm sure she's grooving away, and we'll see her next week again. We'd like to remind you the Health Signals newsletter's out. You get this on the first and third Tuesday of every month, so please pick that up. Talking about going barefoot, and this is a new study by Lieberman and his colleagues compared the impact forces generated when runners hit the ground with their heel first versus the toe first. They found that heel striking causes a large impact force, and this force was even greater if the runners were not wearing shoes. In contrast, there was almost no collision force if the runners landed on their forefeet. So the researchers suspected that barefoot runners land on their toes or midfoot to avoid the impact they would feel if they landed on their toes. They figure barefoot runners point their toes more at each foot strike, kind of reaching out for it, which inevitably decreases the weight of the foot. That becomes, a sudden halt at the moment. The pointed toe also means a sprinter step, a springier step, which also decreases the forces. He says that we hypothesize this is how people generally ran before cushioned shoes with elevated heels were invented. Like I said, I did this for a while. I did get some cramping in my Achilles tendon that really tightened up, so I had to really back off. So as I often say, anytime you get into a new type of exercise or change the way you're doing things, you really have to look long term on how the muscles develop. And I say that term is usually about 12 months or a year, going through all the seasons. So if you're going to change from what you've done, you've got to slow down and start at the beginning. If you're just beginning to run and you go to this, then it's just a period of getting used to what's going on. So it may not be as long. Lieberman stresses that running shoes have not been shown to increase injury, nor has barefoot running proven to reduce damage to the bottom. However, recent publications study that no studies demonstrate that running shoes prevent injuries. In other words, I think it's both ways. I think you can do it both ways now. So whatever you're used to, I recommend if you're not into doing the switch, then running the way you've always run is good. I just wouldn't recommend going really, really long distances. Maybe 4 or 5 miles is enough. The other thing he says is that you can run barefoot in minimal shoes on the world's hardest surface and generate almost no collision, he says. But what about encounters with glass or rocky surfaces? These are things, I guess you really have to slow down for those things. Interesting article, and this kind of led me to another article that is entitled, Why We Walk on Our Heels Instead of Our Toes. Now, this was given to me by my wife the other day over the weekend, and I thought it was really interesting because I have never dug back this far into the history. I just assumed, like everybody else, that we walk heel to toe. And this article by James Weber took up running years ago, and he decided to change and go to the different types of running shoes, but that led him to digging in and doing a study on walking. And he says he was interested in the mechanics of running, but he says one must learn to walk before you can run, so to speak. So this is what led him into doing a research published in the Experimental Biology magazine, specifically exploring why humans walk heel to toe stride, while most other animals, or all other animals, such as dogs and cats, get on the balls of the feet, same with horses and everything like that. It's an interesting question. And humans are very effective walkers, and the key to being an efficient walker in all types of mammals is having long legs. Cats and dogs are up to the balls of their feet with the heel elevated in the air, so they've adapted to have a longer leg. But humans have done things quite differently. We dropped our heels to the ground, which physically makes our legs shorter. And they could, as if we were on our toes. So what happened is around the Middle Ages, that human beings were crowding into cities a lot more, and in the cities the surfaces were a lot different than out in the bush. Out in the bush you got a lot of different types of terrain, but mostly it's nice and soft terrain. Of course, there are areas where it's rocky and things like that, but if you've ever done a lot of barefoot walking, you can really sense the ground. And what he discovered, that people in the Middle Ages, before they were going to cities, actually took their toes and searched out the ground and then stepped down with their full body. So we were actually all toe walkers until he says that we started developing shoes that had a frame around them. So imagine this, you're into the castle or these large cities with the cobblestones in it. That's what medieval Europe was all about, because they didn't want the mud and everything in the towns. So walking on those types of surfaces, then your moccasins and whatever protection you had were not giving you any relief at all. It was a very hard surface, and you were always on a hard surface. So I think the real difference is if you're walking in the wild, then you've got soft surfaces, hard surfaces, difficult surfaces, easier surface, and you adapt to that. But if you're in town now 24/7, you're on a very hard surface. You want something to protect that. So if you're going to increase that sole and give it more protection, then you need a kind of a frame around it. The frame around it, of course, traps your foot. It doesn't allow your foot to naturally spread out. When your foot goes down, it naturally just spreads out. And also, we don't have the feeling anymore. So people started getting lazy and started heel walking because of these types of shoes. No longer did we have to go out and, we're being careful, we're being stealthy, and you're walking and your toes are touching the ground so you know where you're stepping. But if you have a lot of protection, you don't care, so the heels goes down first. So this is how he thinks we adapted to heel striking instead of the toe coming down first. Pretty interesting. He said when researchers sped up a treadmill to look at the transition from walking to running, they also found that toe first walkers switched to running at low speeds rather than regular walkers. Further showed that the toe first walking is less effective for humans. So if you're walking faster, he says, you're more likely to strike the heel first. It's no wonder humans are so set in their ways when it comes to walking heel first. We've been doing it for a long time. Scientists know from footprints found preserved in the volcanic ash in Tanzania that ancient humans practiced heel-to-toe walking as early as 3.6 million years ago. And that's a long time. Our feet have changed over the years, however. Early biped animals walking on 2 feet appeared to have a rigid foot that were proportionally much longer than ours today, about 70% of the length of their femur compared to 54% in modern humans. This likely helped them to be very fast and effective walkers. While modern humans held on to the heel-first style of walking, Weber suggests that our toes and our feet may have gotten shorter proportionally as we become better runners in order to pursue prey. When you're running, if you have a really long foot and you need to push off really hard at the end of your foot, there's a lot of torque and bending. So the idea of switching into running activities, our feet started to shrink because it wasn't able to, as important as the super fast walkers. Maybe it's more important to be really good runners. Kind of interesting article, and I do believe that we were probably toe-first walkers, but it just shows you something that changed in our evolution. We'll be right back.
We'd like to tell you about the personal training studio that Nico is the owner and president of, Performance Training. Since 1998, Nico has trained individuals and groups to improve their health both mentally and physically. As a certified personal trainer, Nico's main focus is on demonstrating exercises correctly to avoid injury and teaching his clients how to manage their past injuries while getting the most out of their personal training sessions. The Performance Training Studio is filled with unique training equipment that enhances balanced results at a faster rate while minimizing damage and discomfort. For more information, you can give Nico a call at 727-418-8740 or email him at nico@tfnn.com. Let him know you heard him on TFNN and save up to $100 on a special package just for TFNN listeners. Act today.
Tiger TV is an exciting way to experience TFNN programming. See high-definition video, giving you crystal clear charts, as well as seeing some of the faces of TFNN's highly acclaimed financial experts with crisp, full-fidelity sound. Catch Tom O'Brien, John Logan, Steve Rhodes, Basil Chapman, Larry Pesavento, Think or Swim, David White, Andy Hecht, and Daryl Martin in crystal clear, high-definition audio and video. Tiger TV, exclusively at TFNN.com.
Has the current market volatility continued to stop you out of trades when the market spikes against you? Now is the perfect time to open up an account with Nadex. Nadex, the North American Derivatives Exchange, is a brand new, completely regulated Chicago-based exchange, and unlike most other exchanges, Nadex allows you to trade directly through them with direct market access when using their completely free trading platform, which also features real-time charts and full customization capability. One of the advantages of trading with Nadex in volatile markets is that your risk is always capped and you have the ability of keeping your trades open even when the market spikes against you. Nadex is completely brand new with a line of unique trading products that are unavailable anywhere else. See how it works at nadex.com. That's NADEX.com. Or click on the Nadex banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Futures and options trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for all investors.
Many of our new listeners have heard about the Tiger's Den, but wondered, what exactly is it? The Tiger's Den is a lively community where professional traders and investors can meet, exchange ideas and information in a comfortable, moderated atmosphere. Hear all of your favorite TFNN shows, plus see all the charts as they happen live during those shows and have access to all those charts. You can test drive the Tiger's Den absolutely free for 30 days. It will greatly enrich your knowledge of these markets. Details on the Tiger's Den are on the front page of TFNN.com. This segment is brought to you by Think or Swim. For more information, just click the Think or Swim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
And welcome back to the show. We're talking about how things have changed for us as human beings over the years because of different technologies and different views that we had. One of the first things that we talked about was that Nike kind of invented the running shoe in a way. Mr. Nike thought that heel strike was the way that we should be running. He saw people running mostly with their toes and figured, well, we walk with the heel strike, so why not push that up a little bit, and there's a lot less impact if we cushion that heel quite a bit. And it seemed to work because I was a runner for many years, and that seemed to work for me until I started running into problems. Then that article about how we really were probably walking more on our toes rather than on the heels, starting about the maybe mid-century 1500s, 1400s, gathering in cities, more harder surfaces, so we want to protect our feet. And before, we were always just putting our toes down first. And now, because of the change, more cushioning, more structure to the shoes, we changed the way we walk. It became a little bit lazier, much easier to put your heel down. It takes a stealthy person. So, I got to thinking, what other changes, because the program is really living a primal lifestyle, not just about food. It's really about our health, really about what we originally were evolved to be, so to speak. So there's a lot of other things that we changed over the years that are kind of detrimental to our health. And heel striking is definitely detrimental. If you look at all the problems we have with our knees, with our hips, directly, I think, causing by the way we walk and also caused by the way we sit. We don't go to the ground anymore. We sit chairs halfway. Our muscles get tighter. They get shorter, and we're not able to stretch as much. We're not able to stoop as easily. We're not able to squat as easily as we used to in the past. So found another article that was pretty interesting, 10 reasons why our society is sick and getting sicker. And the number one is that we're not supposed to work away from sunlight. So we really did change the way we were. If you're in a teepee or in a temporary type structure, which a hunter-gatherer normally would be, then you're outside a lot more. And even the types of societies that had the sturdier structures were outside more. We did everything outside, and this is, of course, why the worship of the sun was the predominant thing in our evolution, I think. Number two is we're not supposed to eat food like things made in a factory. Yeah, we used to gather food and we used to hunt food, and that's the only way we ever did it, and we ate it fresh. Very seldom did we even keep food around. We ate it, and then we found different ways of keeping it by drying it out, by a dehydration process, using the sun, using the air and the wind. We salted it if we had salt, so we did a lot of things to it, but never were we have food from packages. That didn't start until around the turn of the century, I believe. Number three, we're not supposed to go to the bathroom in our own water supply and then add toxic chemicals to the polluted water to pretend to clean it, and then we drink it. Yeah, this is a big problem. Of course, Paige and I often talk about the fluoride in the water, but I think every indigenous person knows that you go to the bathroom downstream and you drink upstream. That just makes a lot of common sense. And, when we are doing the sewage thing here in our modern society, we gather it all up. We don't disperse it. We gather it all up, and then we use chemicals and things like that to try to clean it up. Number four, we're not supposed to eat medical toxins made by the ruling cabal and believe that these fatal poisons designed to cripple and kill us will magically make us healthy. Poison doesn't heal. Poison doesn't work like that. It's, the way we eat, the types of food that we eat has certainly changed over the years. I've often said that you go back and you look at some of the old cookbooks from the Middle Ages, even the 1800s and the 1700s, and you go back farther, and you really see a different type of food that people are eating. There's a lot of these types of things online. You can just Google ancient recipes or recipes from the Middle Ages or European recipes from long ago, and you'll find there's a lot of recipes in there, but mostly they're talking about meat and fat and how to render that and how to make your meal out of those things, and then the rest of it was secondary to them. Number five is we're not supposed to cut our organs and expect our bodies to run better without all our parts. What machine do you own that works better when you remove some parts? So, yeah, I guess we're really talking about taking things out of our body, like the appendix, kind of a useless thing, we think. But yeah, probably a purpose to everything, and I think probably surgery to get rid of these things may not be a good idea, but if it saves your life, then you're the one thinking, hey, wait a minute, this is a pretty good idea. So I think modern surgeries are some of the best things that we do to repair things. Removing organs, probably not as good as that. Number 6, we're not supposed to read scripts and take orders as a way of making a living. This is really interesting. We're supposed to constantly create, evolve, grow, and guide our own ship. Well, of course, one thing we do here on TFNN is we read a lot of charts and make a lot of decisions on things that really don't produce anything. This is what the stock market is all about. This is what kind of gambling is all about. So we really switch from making things and being creative and passing those things on to really making money out of nothing and kind of gambling and having the stakes be such and such, and you either win or you lose. But there's really nothing created in this type of business. So that's a complete change from the past. Number 7 is we're not supposed to turn a blind eye to immortality because it doesn't affect us personally, or it helps us earn a living. Your body hates living as a coward. No matter what story you spin for yourself, you can look the other way. So what this is really about, I believe, is just all the suffering that goes on in the world. And we kind of take a blind eye to that because they're not part of us. They live in different countries, or they're a different class of people, and they're just not working hard, or they're just not smart enough, so they reap their own benefits, and that's the way we look at it. As a tribal community, we looked after everybody. We did have a different worldview. We wanted people to be healthy, and one thing that they did do was when the child was born with a defect, they probably euthanized it. A little different. We now say that we need to embrace life, and those things are not going on, at least not in our modern society, as so to speak. And that's another subject we can get into some other time. Number 8 is we're not supposed to carry around microwave emitting cancer-causing devices in our pockets or on our wrists. Well, of course, we're talking about cell phones here. We're talking about all the different electronics. That's a big change from anything in the past, and that only really recently happened in the last 20 years. We're not supposed to sedate ourselves, distract ourselves with caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, sugar, wheat, junk food, and medical painkillers, narcotics, weed. Yeah, we probably used alcohol, I think, quite a bit. We probably used marijuana and different types of psychedelic quite a bit. The sugar, the wheat, the junk food, and the medical painkillers, not so much. Folks, we'll be right back. I'm going to continue with this. I've got a few more things to say on this subject and really embrace what living a primal lifestyle is all about, so we can make the changes that we want to affect our health and affect the outcome with our families. So stick around, folks. I'll be right back. The number here is 877-927-6648.
You know what's cool? Taking something that's good for you. Something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, soil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated fulvic and humic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They have been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, formulated and approved by Nico and Paige of Living a Primal Lifestyle. Buy it today for just $89. Click on the Primal Edge banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
Tom O'Brien's weekly gold letter, The Gold Report, gives complete and concise coverage of the entire gold market. Inside, you'll get Tom's commentary on gold, the dollar, the rand, the bond, the XAU, the HUI, and detailed coverage of nearly 25 mining stocks. He'll give you the entry price, price target, and stop price of each stock trade. The Gold Report is a long-term newsletter where the focus is on building real wealth through the management of a successful portfolio of gold stocks. With a lifetime of knowledge and almost 12 years of writing his informative weekly newsletter, The Gold Report, Tom O'Brien can provide you with the important market information to help you make better trades in the gold market. Don't let the next bull run in gold pass you by. To get a month-long free trial to The Gold Report, an $85 value, visit the front page of TFNN.com today.
David White's newsletter, The Technology Insider, is focused like a laser on finding the next big things in technology. If you had invested only $10,000 in Microsoft in 1986, you'd have been a millionaire by 2000. Disruptive technology like Microsoft's is the key to these massive long-term profits, and the Tech Insider is the vehicle from TFNN to capitalize on these opportunities. This is the go-to newsletter that identifies, monitors, and profits on mostly little-known cutting-edge companies with great long-term prospects. David's experience is as an inventor of Emmy-winning animation products for TV and Hollywood that propelled a company public. Match that with 14 years as a full-time trader, and he's uniquely qualified to guide you through the light-speed world of ever-evolving high-tech. If you're ready to ride the next big technology bull market for less than $40 per month, log on to TFNN.com and get your 2-week free trial to the Technology Insider. Get in on the ground floor of the next big thing today.
Don't forget, you can listen to TFNN live on your mobile device 24 hours per day. Go to TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV. That's TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV for the latest market information.
Welcome back, folks. Nico Don here, and Paige is out today and will be out Thursday. She'll be back next week. She's enjoying some family time with her children up in the Carolinas, enjoying seeing the change in color. So awesome. So I'm reading from this article by Jason Christoff, 10 Reasons of Why Our Society is Sick and Getting Sicker. And I left off with number 9. This is interesting because we're not supposed to sedate and distract with caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, sugar, wheat, junk food, medical painkillers, narcotics, weed, blah, 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 all these things. And especially while things are in turmoil around us. I find it very interesting that he relates sugar, wheat, junk food, pain relievers, narcotics with alcohol, marijuana, caffeine, which are more of a drug type. These are all things that, you know, if you're, especially alcohol and marijuana, if you use this on a continuous basis, then it can have some bad effects on your body, especially the alcohol part. But nicotine, of course, naturally, since it's a dire poison. But sugar, wheat, and junk food really are the same thing. If you eat just a little bit now and then, prepare them properly so you get all the bad things out of there, then you're probably going to be okay. But if now you make them part of a staple, like an alcoholic would make alcohol a staple where he needs it every day, this is where it becomes a problem. Number 10 is we're not supposed to watch a screen that pumps fake feel good emotions into us as we ignore doing that work that the Creator has sent us here to do. This is the movies, the TV, the sports. These are fake feel-good emotions into our systems. We would all feel the weight of our interactions if we actually got off our asses and stand up and take a look at what's happening around us. Because as human beings, right now what we're doing is we're kind of pushing those bad things away from us. We don't want to be involved in that. And as a hunter and gatherer society, we would bring those things in and heal them as a group of people, not just as an individual. And we hear in our modern society a lot of empathy for individuals that do certain things and make people feel good. And as a group, we don't see that as often, but that's what the tribal living is all about. Since our bodies hate that we're wasting our lives and living out our existence in this way. He says, when we do what our bodies like and need, only then will our bodies gift us with health, strength, and power. As a person sits sick and wonders why they're wasting away, they should review the list above and see if they're living in the contradiction to truth. In short, your body is a truth machine, and if you feed lies into the truth machine, it breaks. It's that simple. Stop living lies, grow up, take action. The world needs more leaders. Kind of interesting. So, my train of thought was about living a primal lifestyle, then what is the biggest mistake that we've ever made? We have all these little things that we've done, starting with the heel striking, changing our food, everything, changing the way, the empathy that we have for each other. We're no longer living in small little groups. We're living in large groups, which really, as human beings, I think there's a number, I don't know what that number would be, probably between 100 and 150 is the maximum that chaos starts bringing out if the group is too much larger than that. That's my own personal opinion. But I have an article here, The Worst Mistake in the Human Race. So this is pretty interesting. Now, what do you think is the biggest mistake we ever made? If you look at that down at history, and this, let's look back at the last 10,000 years. Of course, we have lots of wars, we have lots of poverty in the world, even though we probably have enough food, and we certainly have enough technology to feed everybody on the planet with good food. What we don't have is a way of distributing it very good. And this becomes a real problem because the way we distribute food is we get it from all over the place. Doesn't it make more sense that if we're in one area to grow the food in that area with the people who are in that area, and then we distribute it among ourselves? Then we have no middleman. Then we have the food that's shared. So let's go down this and let's see what it says here. To science, we owe a drastic change to the earth. And we think that this mistake was really this culprit right here. That's wheat. What do you think? So what we're saying is that agriculture is the thing that started our society as we see it today. Our society today is built upon agriculture. It's built upon having a surplus of food. So when we started agriculture, and this started about 10,000 years ago, maybe 12,000 years ago, different parts of the world maybe as little as 1,000 years ago. Look at the American Indian, still a hunter and gatherer when we arrived 500 years ago. So this technology of growing mainly grass seeds, which is the rice and the millet and the sorghum and the wheat, all these things are grass seeds. And we started using these as something different. I got an interesting picture here. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, here it is right here. This shows you what corn was like when it began. So we have this little stalk. This is corn around the turn of the last century, so around 1,000 years ago. And maize was brought in, and they started making the kernels bigger, and of course this is what we see today. So you can see how the food has changed. Emphasize being that there's not a lot here. We had to make it larger because this is where all the good stuff is, and of course we ended up with this whole thing here. This is the sign of domestication. And I've also seen pictures of apples that are, maybe an inch and a half, 2 inches around diameter. Berries are still quite small, but what we want to do as human beings is make these foods larger. Now, we had a discussion a little while ago, maybe a couple of weeks ago, about how nutrition has really left our plants. So what they were saying in that article is that this nutrition here is really the same as this nutrition here. You just have a larger amount of it. So you have to eat more to get more nutrition. So even though we made it larger and we were able to consume more, these carbohydrates become a staple, and we're using them much, much more, but also there's a lot more to it. And for people who are trying to grow food and think this is food, it might be a great thing, but not so much, because we know that from our history there's a lot of phytates and a lot of anti-nutrients in these foods unless we change them. The development of agriculture, domestication of the plants and animals, was the most profound cultural innovation that humans have accomplished since the initial development of tools. Evidence of domestication begins to appear in the archaeological record following the end of the last ice age. And I think there's the hint of why we started down this path of agriculture and didn't do what we used to do. So we changed. So let's explore that in our last segment. And I'll be back in a couple minutes.
Hi, I'm Steve Rhodes, host of the Trader's Edge, heard daily at TFNN.com and author of Mastering Probability, a daily investment and trading newsletter service that I send out each morning by 8 a.m. My morning newsletter service covers exactly what the markets have been doing since last night's close, providing you with an edge on your trading day ahead. You get actionable trading ideas, including the exact entry, stop, and profit targets. Plus, I'll teach you the patterns and hidden market correlations that will make you a better trader. As a subscriber, you'll gain access to my 90-minute money management workshop, where I'll teach you the secrets that'll save your assets. The bottom line, I've got your back, including a 30-day money-back guarantee. See for yourself the type of analysis I provide each trading day by signing up for Mastering Probability today. With nothing to lose, this is an offer you should not pass on. Mastering Probability can be found under Trading Newsletters on the front page of TFNN.com.
If you're an active trader looking for that extra edge when it comes to trading and investments, then now is a great time to get a 2-week free trial to Tom O'Brien's daily market letter, Market Insights. Tom O'Brien's daily newsletter, Market Insights, comes out every market day at around 9:30 a.m. and provides Tom's daily commentary on the broad market, including the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P, plus specific trade recommendations. There's even an update published most afternoons to keep you informed about the day's market activity. He'll give you the entry price, price target, and stop price of each stock and option trade. With Market Insights, there's nothing left to guessing. For all the details and to get your 2-week free trial to Market Insights started today, visit TFNN.com.
No matter where you're listening to TFNN programming, you can always access your favorite shows on demand through TFNN.com. TFNN airs live programming every market day from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. Eastern, and you can view each program by accessing Tiger TV through our homepage. We even have an easy link for all mobile devices, including iPhones, iPads, and Android devices, located in the top right-hand corner of the TFNN homepage. You can use your smartphone to view Tiger TV, but if you don't have a connection that can keep up with streaming live video, then you can simply visit TFNN.mobi in the browser of your smartphone for live streaming audio of all our programs. The mission of TFNN is to educate our audience directly and interactively through our interactive website and call-in talk shows. TFNN is able to teach all levels of investors the technical skills needed to trade in today's marketplace. In order to get the best information possible, TFNN has assembled the most respected financial minds in the country to provide the most current news and comprehensive advice available. TFNN.com, educating investors.
Welcome back, folks. I'm reading from an article, New Research Reveals the Effects of the Agricultural Revolution on Humans. During the great majority of human existence, even if we only count the span of modern humans dating back 200,000 years, people lived off naturally occurring resources by hunting animals and gathering plant foods. This economic system is generally known as hunting and gathering or forgery. The independent development of agriculture more or less simultaneously in a number of regions around the world was truly a revolutionary change and strongly suggests that some global process was at work. And that global process, I believe, was the Ice Age. Most of the United States, and North America, a lot of Europe was covered in ice. It was definitely a changing world. The most significant changes among these was the ability to produce a surplus of food beyond the immediate needs of daily subsistence. Some hunter and gatherers groups, such as those harvesting large annual fish runs in the northwest of the United States, also could amass a lot of food surpluses, but these quantities were limited by the natural abundance. So most of the time we didn't have a lot of surplus. And during an ice age, if you don't have food, you die. So that's a really telling part. By contrast, it says here, plant food and animal husbandry, the care and control of breeding species led to changes that allowed greater yields, increasing geographic ranges, so we moved a lot more, and thus expanded our territories and the potential for food resources. So as we got larger, people started living in larger communities. These developments produced a revolution in human life. Most notably, the increase in abundance, reliability of food allowed human groups to increase their laziness, actually. Communities that had usually relatively small inside were forced to make seasonal moves across the landscape to follow the shifting availability of naturally occurring food. Now stayed in one place for a long time and grew in population. So the size of the population really grew. These changes also had consequences for the biology of humans. Alternating the diet led to nutritional deficiencies, including tooth decay, other problems, shifted the patterns of labor, increasing exposure to diseases due to living in large settlements, and the effect of living in new climates, among others, resulted in evolutionary changes in reaction to, but also in many ways enhancing the human's ability to live under new conditions brought about by agriculture. Several studies have been published on this process, and I'm really going to wait until Thursday to really dive into the changes emotionally and physically, emotionally, spiritually, how all these things changed and brought us into what we call now our modern society of basically one person versus the other person. Because competition is really the key here to how we live today. Everything is competitive. There has to be a winner in everything. There has to be somebody that loses in everything. It's quite a fascinating thing. Studies show that hunter-gatherers living about 7,000 years ago had a much more bone strength, the ability to withstand breakage. So by changing our diet, we really got sicker. Our bones started becoming much more brittle. We see that today. A lot of people break bones, very easy to break bones. But if you look at the great apes, they're swinging through trees, they're falling out of trees, and really nothing seems to break. It's because their bones are a lot more dense. And this is how we were. We were a lot more robust. We were a lot healthier. We were able to endure a lot more, emotionally much more stable, because we didn't have the interference of the television, of people advertising constantly with claims of this and that that are not related to the real world. So our whole social structure really has changed, and I really want to dive deep into this Thursday and see how we can get back, even with all our modern things, get back to a world where we're a much more peaceful society. We're much more of a society that's helping each other, not just in emergencies, but all the time. So look forward to Thursdays. Again, Paige will be out for the rest of the week, but I'm sure she's enjoying those things. So thanks a lot for sticking around. See you.
Since 1984, Basil Chapman has been using the Chapman Wave methodology to advise traders of his expert market opinion. While originally hand-drawing charts from the late 1970s into the 1980s, Basil noticed that prices under most circumstances virtually always had a certain number of legs to the upside before declining sharply. Later, Basil found that computer software, which included the standard market technical indicators, enhanced the degree of accuracy in calling price turns, as well as market trend calls. Thus was born the Chapman Wave sequence. Using the Chapman Wave methodology along with other indicators, Basil Chapman advises his subscribers of his expert market opinion each market day with his opening call newsletter. Right now, you can get a 2-week free trial to the opening call, Basil's daily trading newsletter, by visiting the front page of TFNN.com. Cancel at any time during that trial and pay absolutely nothing. Get your 2-week free trial to Basil's newsletter, The Opening Call, today by visiting TFNN.com.
You're watching Tiger TV.